is a cookie cutter straight out of a book. And they go, what? And I say, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know you. Anybody that tells you here's your custom plan day one is the most full of shit human being on ever. So
Hmm.
here's this cookie cutter, and here's what I'm going to learn from this. And it's going to take me about a month. What works, what doesn't, what you need, based on what we're trying to do.
Hmm.
What needs to go up, what needs to go down, and then once I figure out the little tweaks and things, then we can start doing more tweaks and things within your realm, within your like ratio,
Hmm.
how you work.
What is up, everybody? My name is Kyle Matovcik. I am the host of the In Liberty and Health podcast, where we talk all things liberty, health, and wellness, and beyond. My hope is to encourage and spread the message of liberty and physical and mental well-being. I hope you enjoy all the topics we talk about with our guests. We're on all major streaming platforms, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Man, I'm doing as good as anyone can do getting buried by his 13-year-old son on leg day.
I'm not going to apologize for not being on this podcast because I got to go see Metallica. So if that's a problem, kiss my ass. Okay? All right.
All right, everybody. This is In Liberty and Health, episode number 214. And today I have Mr. Jake Howard with me. And I just want to read one of the messages that he sent to me. And I've been a trainer and coach since 2015, went through the very first FitOps class, which is now the University of Health and Performance, and am a certified vertical diet nutrition coach. And I hate the government. So you can already tell my friend here clearly checks all the boxes for this podcast, and he belongs here. So I know that's a little bit of a long introduction. How you doing, dude?
I'm good. It's real funny because I'll get into something about that, and I hate the government. And I sit with my big Marine Corps flag behind me and everything I do, and what how I explain that is like, I'm very proud of being a United States Marine and my service, just not what we were duped into believing that got us there. So
Right. Yeah. So you know what? And this gets to an interesting conversation, really. When I hear people say like the ACAB stuff, or all vets are bad people, or just like when people blanketly label government workers as bad people, I get it. I know everyone's going to jump my shit about this because they always do whenever I do this, but like, think about this from their perspective, because everybody wants to apply libertarian logic to people that aren't libertarians, and that's kind of stupid
mhm.
because these people don't share those values. The idea of like serving your country and being loyal to something bigger than yourself and really believing that you're protecting and serving people, that's huge. And I mean, that is like duty, right? Which I think is very, very important, because once again, you're serving something that isn't just your desires, your wants, your needs. You truly believe that you're helping people. And when I see people just dunking on people for that, I think that's shitty, because it's like they're under the impression they're helping people, and that's a very, very noble thing. We should encourage that attitude, but we can criticize the cause of which they're serving, but not the people themselves.
No, I completely agree. Like I'm at the point now with I know people that are state troopers where they're from, or sheriff's deputies. My buddy's an ICE agent, and like, I bust his balls on a regular basis, and he just goes, "Yeah." But he's married, he's got kids, and he still believes that like they all believe that they're working to better their communities in the best way that they can, and it's not like they're pulling people out of cars and beating them for no reason. So I mean, shout out to my guys not doing that on the news. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's people like will draw the line straight to like Nazi comparisons and say like, oh, well, the Nazis in the 1940s believed they were doing the right thing too. It's like, can you not see the difference here? I mean, clearly a cop that's doing a drug bust, or pulling someone over for speeding ticket, is it in the libertarian sense wrong? Yes, but like, they're not taking people into fields and shooting them in the back of the head. It's like, we can have a little bit of nuance here. Like, come on.
There's a little wiggle room between that, just a tad. It's not
So,
the Iranian morality police. It's going to be there's a little groove.
Yeah. So I guess kind of pivoting from there, because I could talk about that stuff all day. I actually really enjoy kind of getting down into that stuff, just because, like I said, it's the idea of duty, which is very, very important. You're a fitness guy, so I guess let's kind of start with what got you to being a fitness guy, and we kind of go from there.
Oh man. So I come from a family that's like I'll call everybody halfway athletic.
Mhm.
But it's a very, very obese culture. Of my family culture is very
Sure.
obese. And I'm from the Midwest. I'm from a town about this big in the middle of Illinois. And I got into sports. Like I tried my halfway. I didn't try for at most things until I got into wrestling, and I really really liked wrestling because the win or losing was all on you, on top of if you want to help the team. So it was like the best individual team sport environment, on top of you had to get good enough to beat people with certain moves and skills and how tough you were. And anyway, I loved wrestling. After high school, I joined the Marine Corps. I was in the infantry as a rifleman. I saw you had my internet buddy Shane Hazel on.
He's been on twice. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, the first time was when I started the podcast. I want to say that was probably November of 2021 that I had him on. And then I had him on a second time well over a year later with Angela McCardle and Reed Coverdale talking about political strategy stuff. So yeah, Shane's awesome.
He's definitely an interesting cat. I enjoy talking to him. But so after I got out of the Marine Corps, I had what I would coin as entitled veteran syndrome. And I'm somebody somewhere, and you have definitely run into these guys where the thank you for your service means no, you better be blowing me too. Yeah. And either literally or metaphorically. And it's on top of that, I started drinking real early, and then I got into drugs and stuff when I moved out to Tempe. And so I was a drunk drug addict that believed that the world owed me something. And then there was a whole bunch of crap that happened, and I moved back to Illinois for a little bit. I moved to Texas, was working oil. I fell into a real big depressive state, tried killing myself, ended up getting arrested in Victoria County. Shout out to the Victoria County Sheriff's Department. You guys are troopers. I really do appreciate you for not killing me. And because I earned it. And when I got out of jail, the holding cell, I went back home and I was just looking at myself in the mirror, and I was just round. I'm 5'9" on my best days, and I was well over 300 pounds. So like you roll me down a hill standing up fat. And I was just like, what the hell happened to you? You went from this athlete, you had you're in the infantry, you had a purpose, you unfuck yourself is the best way I could put things. So I went back and got into the gym, and which led eventually, as life moved on, eventually led to me getting sober. And I realized that I had a problem. I needed to be done with that too. So I've been lifting and training pretty sporadically since 2014 and 2015 when I started training other people. I was a bodybuilding coach in Georgetown, Texas for a while, out in the House of Gains gym. If you ever are out there, go. Mecca of the South, love that gym. But yeah, man, fitness, I said bodybuilding saved my life. And then now fitness is something that I need not only as a stress reliever, but because I use it as a teaching tool for my children. Dad could be a rotund, lazy bum, or dad's strong. Like my toddlers say it all the time. Like, oh, Daddy, you're so strong. You do this, and it's like, I would like to keep that up for as long as possible. And yeah, man, that's about it.
Yeah, no, it's I listened to your appearance on our mutual friend Drew, the Clean Libertarians podcast, and I thought the story is really, really interesting. I think you and I kind of share a similar story arc in regards of I didn't necessarily have like a drinking problem, but I was drinking a lot more than I should have. And it really was, as much as I hate to say this because people are going to get all over me because I'm kind of like the intersexual dynamics guy. Meeting my wife and then kind of like the consequences of meeting her and her food allergies are really what kind of tricked me into nutrition. And then through nutrition, after I kind of figured, oh, well, you're a fat piece of shit and, what you put in your mouth actually matters.
Yeah.
After that was when I started taking training more seriously. And then it's like, oh, this is like majorly part of who I am. Like before I liked working out and everything like that, and I would go consistently and would never miss weeks. But then like when you learn about just like what you can do and how to take it seriously and not like completely fuck yourself up and actually put some effort forth, then it's like, oh, I got the bug, man. Like this is it. I have to keep going. And then now you know exactly what I'm talking about. The PRs.
Yes, I do.
You get the itch for it. You just can't stop.
Well, so when I really dove deep into it and I went through the first fit ops class and things, and I said, screw it, I'm gonna do my first bodybuilding show. And man, I got down to like I was 141 and some change pounds at check-in. And then I was scared to like blow up and spill over my trunks. So I didn't really like carb up too hard or eat too much even still after that. So I was on stage at like 143. A twig, just a string bean.
Yeah.
But like that whole process was so cool because I wanted to do that one by myself because like, let's see how much this sucks kind of thing. And man, like I tell people all the time when they come in and it gets to the point where they want to compete. I like telling people no about when it comes to bodybuilding too. I tell people no all the time. But when it comes to like, okay, let's get you ready for a show. I said, get ready to learn stuff about yourself that you had no idea about. Because bodybuilding is a very, very first world sport.
Yeah.
because you are choosing to restrict your calories on top of paying someone to write your plans and diets for you. And you're paying for a nice, clean establishment for you to go lift your weights and do your cardio in, and your fees and your trunks and your suits if you're a woman. And it's like you're paying to make yourself miserable.
Well, and you're also you're choosing not to engorge yourself in hyper palatable foods because
right.
I'm sure probably better than I do because the leanest I've ever been, I'm about probably close to 6 foot. Leanest I ever got was 179 pounds. And at that point I had visual abs and, definitely tons of definition. And I was like, holy crap, I feel like shit because the heaviest I ever was about 250 pounds. I was pretty stocky. But like at that point, I'm like, holy shit, I can't imagine losing like another 10 pounds. I would be diced, but like I would be tired. I wouldn't, I'd be miserable.
Well, it's Dorian Yates, I have his picture up on my wall over here just so I can look at it. But Dorian Yates was the Mr. Olympia who dethroned Lee Haney, who was the most Olympia titles ever.
Yep.
But it was his second or third Olympia win. He got so lean that all the fat at the bottom of his feet was gone. So standing and walking was painful. And I was like, I mean, dedication to the game, I guess, but like, God, it's you learn your tolerance for pain and your self-control in ways that you didn't think that you had it. And if you can take those lessons, whether win or lose or whatever you do after your show, you can take that discipline and apply it just about anywhere else. It's kind of like what they tell you after boot camp. It's like, congratulations, now you can take this, and then you go to the fleet, and you'll be the best soldier, sailor, marine, airman in the world. What do they call Space Force people? Freaking G-dongers or something? I don't know. But
Yeah. The one
Ox.
thing, one of the things that I did, and I've talked about it ad nauseum on the podcast, is I did the carnivore diet for about 2 years, and I got to say that was probably one of the dumbest things I ever did. And you really realize how much your biology will fight you when you're trying to lose weight. And it's not even things that like people realize. Like it's so funny because I'm sure you've dealt with this too. People who say, well, I'm great on keto when I could stick to it. And then the next question should always be, every single time, why can't you stick to it? Because you're to get all those calories from fat. Like for me, my maintenance is probably right now around like 2650, 2700. I'm about like 190-ish. To get all those calories that I'm getting from, like, instead of carbs, just fats, it's like, holy fuck, you're gonna be chugging butter and it's MCT oil. It's like you'll be on the toilet if you have too much fat in one meal.
Yes,
Which
yes, you
I
will.
think everybody who's done a carnivore diet knows exactly what I'm talking about. But it's kind of to the point earlier is that like your body will fight you, and you will end up binging because it's like your brain is going to say, hey, we're like dying, like we're starving here. Put something in your fucking face.
We need this. Yeah. We need that whole cake. Stop it. You know.
Yeah, if you're at the Cheesecake Factory, both slices. What flavor do you want? Yes.
Yeah. Just bring them out until I say stop. You know? Yeah. But there's when it comes to either gaining weight, losing weight, or maintaining, there's so many like diets and fads, and the best diet is the one that works for you and the one that you can stick to, man. And I got a lady whose body responds so well to keto, but there ain't no way in shit she's sticking to keto because she's just the way her job and her lifestyle, what she needs. So it's like, okay, so how are we going to fix that? We're just going to roll with that, and then maybe for the last month of prep, we can get you turning and burning in ketosis. But no, just and just people that work really well on, you know, just everything balanced, you know, proteins, carbs, fats, get your, you know, your micros in there too, and then standard high protein, low carb, rock and roll. It's not only is it dependent on you and what your body does, it's also dependent on you and what your life will let you do.
All right, guys, we are going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about the show's sponsor. We are now brought to you by Fox & Sons Coffees. You can see right here, I got the Den Blend Dark. Really enjoy that. I've been drinking a lot of their Brazil Honey Prep right here. As you can hear, there's not a lot of beans left in it because I've been drinking it quite a bit. Just to tell you a little bit about Fox & Sons, why I support them and why you should too, is that Steven had started the company up in Michigan to help teach his son about entrepreneurship. I'm all about that, and I do firmly believe that in order to spread liberty in our lifetimes, we have to support those who support similar values as us. And Steven does support all the same libertarian values that I bring and talk about on the show a lot. So go to foxandsons.com, use code Kyle at checkout to get 15% off of orders $25 or more, and there's always free shipping whenever you place an order that is more than $37.99. Find their coffee absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure you will too. So one more time, go to foxandsons.com, use code Kyle at checkout to get yourself a little discount. Let them know I sent you, and support the coffee that supports you. All right, guys, thanks. Back to the show.
And I think a lot of especially Instagram professionals out there who don't know what the hell they're talking about don't ever take that into consideration.
Yeah. So one thing that I'm sure you've probably dealt with as well, and I've been hammering this a lot lately, and someone had threw some stones my way because I do post some selfies where, I'm not going to lie, I look pretty damn good. But sometimes I'd like to draw people's attention. Yes, I do clickbait, but I'm not a grifter because I give back, right? I try to give people information. I'm sure you've probably seen some of the threads I've done. It's so funny because like if I go dunking on Tim Pool or, you know, thrashing somebody, oh my God, people love it. You know, all the likes in the world, it gets shared, you know, 14,000 views, whatever. But then as soon as I put out like a really informational thread on like eating disorders or protein quality, that like 7 or 8 likes. I'm like, oh, well, you know, everybody wants information, but the people just want like this drive-through bullshit. Like, here, let me drive through and you can throw the information into my mouth.
I'm not reading all that shit. Oh, okay.
Right. So I'm sorry, that was like a long tangent, but
you're fine.
Eating disorders. That's been something that I've really hammered home because I didn't realize it, but I was definitely developing habits of disordered eating when I was on carnivore because, you know, I'd be good all week and then it was, you know, obsessive. I just have to have meat. I can't have anything else. And then the weekend would come and then I would have a binge episode. And I think this is a lot more common, like not just like it's probably a little bit more common than people think. Like I think a lot of people, especially with like this elevation of keto and everything's keto and carbs are the devil, I think this is giving people orthorexia in a really nasty way, and nobody talks about that.
Right. No, that's I'm a big fan of if people can do it. That's why I'm a big fan of spacing meals out into like maybe like six, you know, smaller meals throughout the day, like kind of the grazing method. But because if you have something that's set in certain, you know, meals and you have your alarm set at certain times, you're going to be satiated just a little bit longer to the point where you're not going to be like, I'm going to eat that loaf of bread and who's going to stop me, you know? So that's where I do work with somebody who has a real bad binge eating problem, but she has worked so hard with, you know, therapy and self-discovery and things to where, you know, she realizes what her triggers are and things like that, to the point now where like she can be trusted with just a macro plan, which is cool, which is so cool. And like, I love her. I've been working with her for years, but it's just now it's like, okay, well, here you go. Like, you're at the point, you're not crawling anymore. You're not walking anymore. You're off running. So let's get it done. And I know you're not going to, you know, snort a pizza. and if she does, she tattles on herself like right away. She's like, hey, yo, had a bad day at work and it just tripped me up. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, let's not do that tomorrow. Let's just get back to work, you know?
Right.
But there's I get what you're saying. There is a lot of that comes from the culture as a whole in the United States. And there's a big, I need my satisfaction right now.
Right.
And, you know, like you'll see that with everything, you know, just your social media, your porn, your food, your, you know, you can have your bullshit food dropped off at your house by a nameless dude just trying to make a couple bucks.
Yep.
And it's just, if I can have it all, I'm gonna. And it takes, I think as animals deep in our core, we still have that like somewhere in the back of our minds, like that's the survival method. Like, well, the food can just come. I don't have to hunt. We better stock up. The winter's coming, you know? But, you know, you're definitely right. I see exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's kind of why I go to bat against people on the seed oil stuff too, because that's now like the current craze. And it's funny because people act like I didn't go through all of this, the artificial sweetener stuff, the seed oils, carbs, you name it. I fell into the fucking fad. But then over time, I talked to people who, you know, do the meta-analysis, the people who, you know, do shows all about the meta-analysis, the coaches, talked to them, had them on the podcast and realized, oh, you know, a lot of this shit's really not that bad. And you know what? The human body is a pretty fucking amazing thing that can take damn near anything you throw at it and come out on the other side churning pretty damn well. Now we could start getting into like, well, what's optimal? Okay, well, what's optimal for you may not be optimal for me versus what may not be optimal for your client, and so on and so forth. But
Exactly.
I think, and I'm sure you could speak more to this than I could, that people kind of have this revelation. As soon as they find something that works for them, they think everybody else has to be the same. So therefore, everybody should do the same diet that I do.
My first year as a prep coach was horrible because this worked for me and I did this to myself. I'm going to do it to you too.
Right.
and that's, what did I know? What did I know about feeding a woman to make sure her cycle stayed the same? Or, no, man. And like, luckily I never like dove deep to the point where I, shut everyone's cycle off or anything. But like it was at the point where like I had to, as I was growing and learning and I was doing my research, and I'd be like, oh, can't do that to Carly today, but have some peanut butter, pop, like, but this whole, there went my brain.
That's okay. Just basically like we were kind of talking about dogma surrounding food and shit like that. Yeah.
Well, no, you have to treat everyone as the individual they are.
Right.
You have to. Like, I could probably do a whole, like, just because of my genetic makeup, I could probably do a whole prep on pork. And I wouldn't suggest that.
Yeah, that sounds pretty terrible, to be completely honest.
I mean, oh yeah, it'd be horrible. But like I'm saying, like my body could metabolize it and use it. I could probably get to where I wanted to go. Sure. Not like on bacon, but like on this, pork loin and anyway, if I were to say coach you and you're like, here's my stats, here's my breakdown, here's who I've worked with in the past, and here's what I've come to understand. I'm going to say, cool. I'm going to throw this at you first because it's like I tell everybody when we first get going, I said, this is a cookie cutter straight out of a book. And they go, what? And I say, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know you. Anybody that tells you here's your custom plan day one is the most full of shit human being on ever. So here's this cookie cutter. And here's what I'm going to learn from this. And it's going to take me about a month. What works, what doesn't, what you need, based on what we're trying to do. What needs to go up, what needs to go down. And then once I figure out the little tweaks and things, then we can start doing more tweaks and things within your realm, within your like ratio, how you work. I have such a problem with fitness influencers that are 100% custom right away. Like, okay, so you're just doing a macro plan based off like their height and weight and their BMI and go for it, chief. Like they make thousands of dollars a month, and they just rope a dope in so many just people trying to be like them or people looking for some hope, and it drives me nuts. I think people that take advantage of folks like that are the worst. Anyway.
Well, what's funny is I've actually never considered that literally till you just said that it's like, how the fuck could you make someone a custom macro plan? Like you could maybe get an idea if you ask them what kind of foods you like, but even then, like that doesn't mean they're going to stick to it. You have no fucking clue. You have no idea what the individual's going to be like until you start working with them. So yeah, how the fuck do you know, how can you give someone a custom macro plan on day one? Like I said, you don't know this person. If I told you to start coaching me, I could tell you, hey, I like French toast. I make French toast in the morning, red meat, and I like protein bars. I have a pretty durable stomach. Like that gives you an idea, but I mean, you're still not going to know what exactly to do. And then what if, the plan you give me sucks and it was a custom plan? Now we both think, you think I'm an asshole because the plan that you gave me didn't work. And then I think you're an asshole because you gave me a bullshit plan. Like what?
Yeah, but I gave you a bullshit plan, but to say my influencer status is so high that you're like, it must be me.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's that cycle until those fuckers get caught. Like I don't know if you remember it was some real trash supplement company. It was Shreds.
Mm.
That's what it was called. And it was their main people was Paige Hathaway, Joey Swole, and Devin Physique.
Okay, the first two names I know, but the third one I don't.
Okay, well, Devin Physique is pretty much why Shreds. You don't really hear about Shreds ever, and it doesn't like pop up on anything because not only was he one of the first people to get caught really, editing their photos to look better than what they look like,
Oh, shocker!
But it was like his girlfriend broke up with him and was like, "Oh, by the way, he doesn't do any of your work I did. He never did any of the plans. It was me, and they're all pretty much the same thing." And it was, and there's been multiple stories about that. Who was that blonde lady that got just dunked on ruthlessly out of Dallas? Dawn something.
Not ringing any bells.
Oh man, Papa Swolio, the Swolenormous guy on YouTube, had like a year's worth of content just ruining her life. But that's the thing is a lot of these people get away with that for a long time until they move on to their next grift, or they get out of fitness and get their their regular 9 to 5, and they just screw folks for years until they're like, okay, I'm done.
Right.
And it drives me nuts. And it's at the point now where it's like I don't advertise. I really don't. Like every now and again, I'll be like, hey, I'm taking on clients, and I won't say anything for a year. It's and it's one, I don't want to be roped in with those people.
Yeah.
And two, I found that with my lack of advertisement, I get more quality clientele. And I know that sounds so bass backwards for business, but it's like, I'll post stuff every now and again on Instagram or something of like a transformation or here my athletes competing, and they're like, I didn't even know you had people in that show. I'm like, oh yeah, but it's the people I work with. I know for a fact will do the work, and they know that I will sit down and take the time to make sure I'm giving them what they need.
Right.
And so that way I don't have 1,000 16-year-old kids somewhere being like, I'm going to be just like Arnold tomorrow. I have people that have sat down, done their research, looked at stuff, and they're like, I think that we should work together. And I said, maybe. And then then it's too, I say, if we don't work out, that's fine. Because I also know a network of coaches and trainers and, yogis throughout the United States. I'll set you up with one of them. Like I have no problem giving business away either. Like if I know somebody that's gonna be better for you, hell yeah, there you go.
Right.
Because
according to like most literature, we don't have like a weight loss problem. We have a weight maintenance problem where everybody can lose weight, everybody loses weight, but nobody can keep it off. And really, I think that's kind of like the more important thing. And it kind of seems to be what you're getting at is that like the clients that you get, if you were to just constantly shill your shit, you'd probably get more clients. But though, like, are these going to be people that you're making a meaningful difference in their life? Some of them, sure, but probably not most of them.
When I was working in the gyms, that was always my favorite, because when you work at an independent gym and you are your own trainer, you don't work for the company. The gym patrons have the ability, if they so choose to work with a coach or trainer, they can see you and who you work with, and they think that's the squad I want to get in.
Sure.
And so that's I'm not trying to dookie on, the Gold's Gym fitness managers, but I am kind of. I think that big box trainers are real good at the technical aspects of things and making sales. But I think if you're really looking for a trainer, you need to go to an independent gym and see those people's work. Right. But like you were saying, sorry, that was my ADHD.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yes, a maintenance thing. Honestly, based on what I've seen, and understand. I'm not a huge intermittent fasting person, but from what I've seen and understand, I think one of the best ways for maintenance is intermittent fasting.
That's interesting.
Because I mean, if you get it right and you get your windows right, like you won't gain or lose. You can pretty much stay the same. I mean, of course, with a deficit, you're going to lose, and with a surplus, you're going to gain eventually. That's just, at the end of the day, that's how it works. But if you get a pretty like flat line, here it is. Intermittent fasting is timing wise, and for you, I've seen it to be pretty good for just maintenance.
I've never really heard anyone advertise it that way. Most of the time, people normally advertise it as, "Oh, you're going to ramp up your growth hormone, and this is the greatest way to lose weight." It's like, no, this is just because you're not eating as much. You're making less opportunities for you to eat. But though, if that works for you, then absolutely you should do it.
Well, so obviously there's a TRT and genetic factor, but look at Terry Crews.
Yeah,
he's been intermittent fasting for at least a decade.
Yeah.
And Terry Crews looks like Terry Crews.
I think you probably think the same thing. He's probably not natural, but at the same time, what a lot of people fail to realize when you say that someone's not natural, they still have to work their ass off. It's just the fact that they're not natural. Like Ronnie Coleman would not look like Ronnie Coleman if he didn't work his ass off. Dorian Yates wouldn't have looked like Dorian Yates if he didn't work his ass off.
Dude. Okay, so you brought up Ronnie, and Ronnie's one of my favorite freaks in history. So have you dove deep into Ronnie Coleman?
No, not really.
So this dude was a cop who started working at this gym for free at the Metroplex. And I can't remember the deal it was, but it was he had to compete for his membership.
Yeah.
And he went pro and was doing the European tour. And it was Kevin Levrone and Flex.
Wasn't Lee Haney. He was retired by then, huh?
Yeah, because it was Flex. Damn it. He ended up losing his leg. Had to retire because of his kidney failure.
I thought that was Flex Wheeler.
Boom, Flex Wheeler. Thank you. Yeah. But like he had gone pro, was doing the European like Grand Prix tours, was top 10 on these Grand Prix tours. And then one night it was like Flex Wheeler was like was taking his drugs, and Ronnie Coleman was like, "What's that?" And so Flex was like, "Are you serious?" So for pretty much up until Ronnie Coleman just exploded into being the mass freak he was, there's a strong argument that he was natural up until. So he was already a top tier pro, and then Flex Wheeler was like, "Have you tried drugs?" And he goes, "I don't know what drugs are. Here, take this." And then he started just winning, like it was unstoppable. That's what
I really enjoyed his episode on Joe Rogan, because I remember him saying, "Oh yeah, I was leg pressing like 2,300 pounds or something like that. I was doing some squats. I remember my back cracked, and I was like, something ain't right." And then he like fucking broke his back. And he's like, "Oh yeah, something's not right there."
Was it on the Rogan, or was it the Patrick Bet David when he was like, "What is your like one regret?" And he's like, "I could have done more. I could have done more reps."
That was right. He's like, "Yeah, I wish I would have did a couple more.
I had a couple more in me." Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it's only like 2,000 pounds. No big deal.
Yeah, no, I'll get 405 on the bar and hit my one. I'm like, I'm a man. All right, see this some other time.
Yeah, I remember. I'm sure everybody's seen the lightweight compilation. If you look up Ronnie Coleman lightweight on YouTube, he goes down. I think he was rowing with like 500 pounds. And I go, surely he's gonna like deadlift or something with that. And he starts rowing. And yeah, his form's shit, but it's like, what? What are you doing?
Ain't nothing but a peanut.
Lightweight, baby.
If you want to watch a guy with horrible form is Branch Warren. Holy shit. Like when he was doing his real heavy stuff, you're like, how? What? How did you? And he was never injured in a gym. He always got hurt in like falling off a horse or getting hit by a car. But like if you watch him train, you're going, how did you not just rip your back off your spine? I don't understand what. Yeah, Branch Warren is also one of the coolest guys I've ever met.
All right, guys. I'm absolutely thrilled with the show's new sponsor. I am now sponsored and have an affiliate through LMNT electrolytes. I've used these electrolytes for years. Back when I used to do a lot of fasting, in fact, I used to drink. Sometimes I want to say up to 7 a day, 7 little packets. So the packets are full of all the electrolytes you need to perform and hydrate yourself properly. You need sodium for pretty much every single function in your body, despite what a lot of people may tell you. Sodium doesn't actually cause a lot of the issues that people kind of would have you believe. So just real quick to give you a little bit of facts. You don't need sugar to hydrate. Electrolytes and water don't require glucose to pass through the gut. The average American consumes over 60 pounds of sugar a year. And when it comes to athletic performance, you can actually lose up to 7 grams per day in hot climate. So make sure you click on the affiliate link below to get all your hydration needs. And like I said, I'm super stoked to have these guys teamed up with the podcast, and just make sure you get your electrolytes through Element. All right, guys, thanks.
In the sport, he's super nice, super chill. I met him when he was sizing down, and he still was like, his arms, my arm was like this, and his arm was like that. This is after he'd lost like 50 pounds. I was like, what the
fuck? Yeah, so I never really seen any like bodybuilders in person until, funny enough, I just joined Club NBT, which is like a small local club here by me. And I'm sure you're familiar with Axe and Sledge, right?
Yeah.
Their one model, Justine Albert, I think her name is, she's the one who owns the gym. And I remember seeing her, I'm pretty sure it was close to like a contest for her, but like I remember she was taking me and my wife through the gym, and like seeing somebody that's like bodybuilder-esque in person. I remember hearing people say like it is much more impressive when you see him in person. And then I remember that finally like setting in for me. I'm like, holy shit. Like it looks incredible.
Right. And the dedication to getting your physique like that is phenomenal. So Dennis James, Dennis the Menace, lives out here in Arizona. And I'll have to find you my picture and send it to you. But I out-angled one of the biggest bodybuilders to ever exist, pretty much. But it's because he had just had he was recovering from his double hand surgeries. So I'm shaking his hand and I look at my picture. I'm like, no way. I'm fucking huge.
Yeah. Oh, bro, my pup was sick.
Oh man, I was just here. I was at the Phoenix Rising, which is the women's bodybuilding world championship. And he was out there, obviously, just being an ambassador for the sport and watching the show. And I walked up and I was like, no way. Then I brought my actually it was when I first moved out here. I took my stepdaughters on a date to go watch a bodybuilding show because it was like it was the women's world championship, so it was all just women competing. So I was like, I'll show you what strong women look like, So that was a really cool experience for them, and I got to out-angle a legend. And I'll put that right up there with my marriage, the best night of my life.
Nice, man. So I guess kind of one thing I wanted to talk about there, I'm kind of glad you brought up your marriage. You had a history with drugs and stuff like that, and obviously we don't have to get too personal, but I mean you can obviously take this wherever you want. What was like the low point for you? And I think I remember you and Drew saying that you had to do it for you, which before I throw it back over to you, it's like a red pill kind of like the manosphere kind of insight is it's enlightened self-interest, where you have to understand that you cannot help other people until you help yourself, or at least you're not able to best help other people until you help yourself. I think that's something that like goes under the radar for a lot of people, but it seems like you and Drew understand that probably at a much, much deeper level than most people do.
Yeah, Drew's like my soul brother, man. But no, my last drink I had was I had a dog that had cancer, and he like ripped his tumor off and almost bled to death in the garage. And then the vet was like, the surgery would kill him. So what are you gonna do? Like, you know, and I was just a weepy boohooey mess. And I went back to the garage I was living at the time. Shout out to Danny and Sammy Farrago. You saved my life. But Danny comes out and he had those. Do you remember Not Your Father's root beer?
Yeah.
He goes, I don't have any beers. You can have this. And I remember like those things were gross anyway. But I remember I took a drink of it. You know, I just buried the dog under the tree in the back. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, what would me drinking this do for how upset I am? Like, what is the purpose of that? And like, I mean, yeah, I didn't finish it. That was the first drink I've like never not finished on purpose, ever. And I was done from then on, because it was killing myself quickly or killing myself slowly became no longer appealing. And I had to make the choice of getting healthy for real, or, you know, what am I doing? Because I was probably one or two bad nights away from just screwing it all up anyway. I was living in my buddy's garage. You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to pick yourself up? You know, and that wasn't even like, I wouldn't even consider that my rock bottom, but it was just like, okay, dude, you're a grown man. You've been to Iraq twice. Like, you've done all kinds of crazy shit in your life already. And now you're living in a garage with your dog. This might be what's causing your issues, you know? Right. And everybody has that I come to God moment in some way, shape, or form about their substances. And it's whether you listen to it or not is what's going to make or break you. When it comes to sobriety and making the active choice not to do the things that you crave every day, you have to wake up and choose it every day. Like, I've said this I probably said this on Drew's show. I've said it to multiple people all the time. I think about getting just fucking fucked up every day. And I find the excuse for it. I find how I could get away with it. And then I don't. Right. You know, like this December will be 8 years. And it's you have to wake up every day and be like, no. And it's some days are way easier than others. And, you know, some days you're just staring at the floor and like chewing on your cheek. Like, reality is not worth it today. But, you know, reality is worth it every day because you're learning something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like whenever you're in the hole in a squat and you're questioning your existence, but you know the struggle on the other end is definitely, or like overcoming the struggle on the other end is kind of like the panacea that you're looking for, at least in that moment. And you know, the human machine isn't built to be happy and content at any certain point. it's very, very fleeting whenever you get to that moment. Like, I'm sure you've experienced it, because like right now I'm chasing a 550-pound deadlift and I'm trying to work my way up to a 400-pound squat. I could do 365 for 2 reps. So getting there, 530 on the deadlift. Gonna keep working on it, but you know, it's just when you get there, you're pretty stoked, but then you realize I got more in me, and I'm gonna keep fucking going. And you keep telling yourself before you get there, I'll be happy when you get there, but you never are. You always got to put a little bit more ass into
it. Come on, you got that. Or you check the tape, and you're like, oh,
not to depth. Oh God!
Can't put this on the internet. Get roasted by strangers forever. Yeah, like so I just had a had a flash. So I have bone on bone contact in both my knees. Just from the Marine Corps, just ground down knees, and for the longest time, I just didn't touch my legs. I didn't train my legs. I didn't touch them. And so when I got back into squatting, I was super proud because I hit a 285 squat, just right at parallel. And then I went in for my second one and I ate shit and I laughed about it and I put it on Instagram. I ended up on some Joe Schmoke's YouTube channel talking smack. And then I don't remember if you remember Louis Marco, but he was one of the big fitness YouTubers way back in the day. Was like he put it up on his Instagram channel, and I hit him up, and I was like, "Hey, I'm actually pretty proud of that." You know, like we actually had a pretty good dialogue about it. But the guy talking that smack, he's dead to me. But that's another thing too. I try not to be that guy as well on the internet because, like me, you would, if you look at my legs now and what I do now, you would never know that I'm just in pain all the time. But like I'm not, you know, like so you don't really know someone's body mechanics or why it is the way it is. And I'm not a power lifter hitting meat numbers. Kiss my dick, dude. Like I'm so sorry. Where did my tangent take us from?
Oh no, dude, you're good. You're good. We were just, you know, it's all on subject. Yeah, I mean, like the numbers and stuff aren't that important. Because I've been listening to a lot more like I don't want to say the evidence-based community, because that's pretty much all who I listen to now. But like, you have people talking a lot more in depth about stuff like range of motion now. Like I had Milo Wolf on, if you know who Milo Wolf is. He's been doing a lot of research on length and partials, which is actually pretty freaking interesting. So basically, this research is starting to suggest that if you do length and partials, so like let's say you're doing like a tricep extension, you're doing just like the most difficult part of that range of motion rather than going the full way down. Because what do people do when they do a tricep extension? They're just doing this part right here, right? They're not going the whole way down. So actually what the research that he's starting to do is basically saying that like that very lengthened position, if you just do the partials within that range, it's actually more stimulative and can build more muscle than doing full range of motion, which was kind of, you know, that's against conventional wisdom. I think the way that I threw this to him and he seemingly agreed. He said, it's kind of like the difference between if you have 3 meals a day versus 5 meals a day. Is it going to be significant? Probably not. But if you're looking to eke out every last inch, maybe that's the trick. Not a guaranteed thing, but maybe. Right. So it's been kind of interesting seeing it's like we have this information at our fingertips and it's kind of cool to now be able to access it. But you know that this is kind of like fire too, where people are going to use it to burn down their house and some people are going to use it to heat their homes. And some people may use it to put a torch to somebody's face.
I'll bring it back to Mike Mentzer and Dorian Yates.
Yeah.
Watch Blood and Guts.
Oof, yeah.
Okay. Not every single one of those reps was a full range of motion rep. And he was probably the biggest mofo and probably the best mass monster to ever do it in the bodybuilding game. Like, do you do preacher curl 21s?
No, I don't really do preacher curls that often, to be completely honest.
That's fine. But like,
Yeah.
have you do 21s? You know what I'm talking about?
If you tell me what it is, maybe. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
So you're here.
Yeah.
Halfway, 7,
Okay.
7,
Uh,
7.
no, I've never done that actually.
Give it a go. But that's the same thing. You're half repping for 14 reps, really, and full range for another 7. It's that the full range of motion is good because you're doing your best to incorporate the whole muscle group and muscles that you're trying to work. But if you really think about it, there has been, maybe you don't have to do that full rep to meet your whole goal. It's been there just whispering in the ear.
Yeah.
Since the dawn of lifting weights. Like if you find like the old, like real grainy footage of strongmen, like with like Sandow and like Hackenschmidt and all those guys, they're doing just like ridiculous with this incredibly heavy things, but it's like you apply that to, you know, modern full range of motion movement. They had the best physiques of their time, period.
Right.
Anyway, I'm agreeing with your dude, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, dude, that's okay. We've been going for pretty close to an hour now, man. I've enjoyed this chat, and I think we're definitely gonna have to do another one. Do you go ahead and plug your stuff? What do you got going on? Cool. And you know, let people know where they can find you and support you.
Cool, man. My personal pages are at Hake Joward. If you're looking for coaching or talking about weightlifting or nutrition, hit me up. I'll gladly have the conversation with you. Like I said before, if we're not a fit, I'll kick you to someone who I think might be a better fit for you. Follow the Sober Swole Pod on Instagram and Twitter. That's at Sober Swole Pod. We're on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, Spotify, and somewhere else that I can't remember off the top of my head. But that's a show where it's me and my buddy Ryan, who's more left-leaning in political views, and we talk about how we handle our days. I am a sober person. He is a cannabis user that can control his alcohol, but we balance stuff back and forth, and we talk about, you know, our days and how he has a very physically demanding job, and I talk about, you know, training and lifting and whatever else crosses our mind. And yeah, well, that's really all. That's it. That's me.
Oh yeah, man. Well, like I said, we'll have to do it again. Maybe I'll have to have you and your co-host on here, because I think it'd be a cool time. But yeah, man. If you're anything else, we'll close her out.
Oh man, thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Of course, anytime. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Check out the show's sponsors. I don't know why I plug these at the end. You know, I should probably plug them earlier. TigerFitness.com, LMNT / in Liberty and Health, or no, drinklmnt.com / in Liberty and Health, all one word. And until next time, guys, take care.